There is a document tucked away in a dusty archive that might just be the most dangerous piece of paper in the world for the British royal family. It isn't a secret treaty or a hidden map. It's a copy of 17 magazine from March 1997. For decades, we've been told a very specific story about a young girl from Los Angeles who dreamed of the spotlight and eventually found herself in a castle. But as we move further into 2026, that fairy tale is facing a reality check that no amount of PR can suppress. Something big just dropped. And it has people doing a double take across every corner of the internet. Samantha Markle is stepping back into the spotlight. And this time, she isn't just bringing family grievances, she's bringing what she claims is irrefutable physical proof that the world has been misled about Meghan Markle's actual age. For years, the story of the Duchess of Sussex has felt like a perfectly polished, high-definition production. But lately, questions are popping up faster than the palace can manage them, and the official version is starting to look like a script that's been edited one too many times. Is it possible that the woman the world knows as a 44-year-old duchess, is she actually hiding a 5-year secret? Social media is buzzing. The pressure is building, and what surfaced in that 1997 archive might completely change how you see this entire story. For a long time, the public ignored Samantha Markle. She was painted by the mainstream media as the disgruntled half-sister, a background character in a grand romantic saga who was simply looking for her 15 minutes of fame. But as the legal battles of 2026 reach a fever pitch, people are starting to rethink those early warnings. What once sounded like background noise is suddenly getting a second look, and skeptics are asking if those quiet alarms were brushed off far too quickly. Even some of the most veteran royal reporters have started to admit that Samantha Markle's claims are checking out factually. It isn't just about family drama anymore, it's about dates, patterns, and gaps in a life story that simply don't add up when you put them under a microscope. Look closer at the records. Every birthday post, every milestone, and every carefully shared throwback photo is being analyzed frame by frame. When you look at the evidence, the media built a clean, picture-perfect timeline. But Samantha Markle kept pointing at the tiny cracks in that polished image. What if those quiet warnings weren't just noise, but a roadmap to a secret that's been hidden in plain sight for over 30 years? The real catalyst for this global conversation is being driven by that specific issue of 17 magazine. This isn't a digital post that can be deleted or a Wikipedia entry that can be edited by a PR firm. It's a physical artifact from the 1990s. In that March 1997 issue, a young woman from Los Angeles is featured in a lifestyle spread, and the text explicitly lists her age as 21 years old. That woman is Meghan Markle. Now, if we follow the official royal biography, Meghan Markle was born in August 1981. That would make her 15 years old in the spring of 1997, a sophomore in high school. But look at the photos. Look at the context of the article. She is presented as an adult, a woman with a career trajectory and a life that doesn't fit the profile of a mid-teen high schooler. The math here is straightforward, but the implications are staggering. If she was 21 in 1997, that would place her birth year in 1976. That's a 5-year discrepancy, a 5-year adjustment that, if true, would mean she is turning 50 this year. People are wondering why such a specific detail would be misprinted in a major publication, and why that mistake happens to align so closely with the memories of her own family members. But the magazine was just the tip of the iceberg. When you start pulling on that one thread, the whole tapestry begins to unravel. If she was born in 1976, it changes everything we think we know about her education and her early acting years. The official story says she graduated from Immaculate Heart High School in 1999. If she were born in 1976, she would have graduated in 1994. So where are those missing 5 years? Where is the record of her life between 94 and 99? Where is it? Some researchers have pointed to old yearbooks and graduation programs, claiming that the records have been cleaned up to fit the 1981 birth year. This isn't just a matter of vanity, it's a matter of institutional transparency. If a future member of the royal family was able to essentially reset her biological clock and her educational history to appear younger to the public, It raises massive questions about the vetting process of the monarchy. But that's not even the most confusing part of the timeline. This age gap isn't just about a number on a birth certificate. It carries major biological implications that keep speculation alive. If she is 5 years older than claimed, it changes the entire narrative surrounding the births of Archie and Lilibet. When the pregnancies were announced, they were framed as modern miracles, but they were also shrouded in an unusual level of secrecy. No doctors signed the birth announcements, which breaks from centuries of royal tradition. There were no public appearances on the hospital steps. If the alternative age theory were true, and she were in her late 40s during those pregnancies, the medical reality would become far more complex. This is why the conversation keeps returning to topics like moon bumps and surrogacy. While none of this is confirmed fact, and speculation should be approached with caution, the 1997 magazine feature has given skeptics a form of physical evidence they never had before. When a topic keeps resurfacing like this, curiosity grows, and people begin demanding real answers. But what Thomas Markle remembers may be even more damaging than a magazine clip. Thomas Markle is a man who understands the power of a perfect image. As an Emmy-winning lighting director, he spent his entire career was built on making people look younger, better, and more vibrant than they actually were. He knew how to hide a wrinkle with a soft focus lens and how to use light to shave years off a person's face. From his perspective, he wasn't just raising a daughter, he was witnessing the creation of a star. But lately, in his most recent 2026 interviews, he has hinted that he may have helped curate her history. He remembers her milestones with a clarity that only a father can have. The first job, the early auditions, the specific birthdays that marked her journey into adulthood. He has shared that certain major events happened at times that don't match the public version of her life. He recalls a graduation dinner and a specific milestone birthday that stood out. And when he checks those against the years, he remembers being on set for various shows. The numbers start to shift. He's mentioned that he felt his daughter iced him out, not just because of the staged photos, but because he was the only person left who knew the original lighting of her life. As the 2026 legal battle continues to unfold, Samantha Markle is pushing for a level of discovery that could change everything. Samantha Markle isn't just asking for an apology. She is demanding the original birth certificate, not the one issued by the state years later, but the contemporaneous record from the hospital. Her argument is that, in the digital age, it's all too easy to update a database, but physical archives tell a different story. She believes that the truth has been censored by a powerful media machine that protects the royal image at all costs. She's mentioned that her father, Thomas Markle, may have more evidence in his home archives, old VHS tapes and dated receipts from her childhood that could challenge the 1981 birth claim. We're talking about home videos from the early 90s that appear to show a young woman, not a child. If these documents are forced out during the discovery phase of the lawsuit, the palace could face a major crisis. It's no longer just about a family dispute, it's about whether a global figure can effectively rewrite their own history. The mystery deepened even further when people began examining the birth of Archie at Portland Hospital. In Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, the description of that day feels almost cinematic in its perfection. He describes a calm, intimate atmosphere, soft music, and even his own use of laughing gas. He paints a scene where everything flows smoothly from beginning to end, and Meghan Markle appears strong and composed throughout the entire ordeal. But when medical professionals reviewed that account, the feedback was nearly unanimous. The timeline doesn't align with standard medical protocol. Prince Harry describes a very rapid recovery and a quick departure from the hospital almost immediately after the birth. Typically, after the type of medical intervention described, patients are monitored for a minimum of 6 to 12 hours. Hours to ensure there are no complications. Patients aren't usually up and walking out through a private exit into a waiting car within an hour or two. This compressed timeline has led many to wonder whether the story was simplified for the sake of a fairy tale narrative. Leaving a high-security hospital in central London is a logistical challenge. It involves security coordination, paperwork, and newborn checks that cannot be rushed. To complete all of that within the timeframe described in the book feels highly unlikely. It has led to a surge in speculation that the birth may not have happened exactly as outlined in the official account. When this is combined with the age controversy, a pattern of narrative management begins to emerge. If the age was adjusted by 5 years to fit a Hollywood and royal image, and the birth story was refined for a memoir, then what else in the official record may have been polished for public consumption? It's not necessarily a claim that everything is false, but rather a growing realization that the public version may be a carefully controlled edit of reality. And what happened next would surprise even the most loyal supporters. In the world of professional acting, image management isn't just common, it's expected. Actresses often feel the pressure to stay in their late 20s for as long as possible to land leading roles. We've seen many high-profile stars adjust their ages early in their careers. But when that actress becomes a global royal figure, those small adjustments become a matter of historical and constitutional record. The transition from Meghan Markle, the girl from the 17 magazine spread, to Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, required a complete overhaul of her public persona. Some believe that during this rebrand, any details that didn't fit the young, fresh royal-to-be image were quietly tucked away. This would explain why old-school photos from the mid-90s feel like they belong to a much earlier era of fashion and culture. Every interview and every public appearance became a brick in the construction of a very specific youthful image. But walls have a way of cracking when the foundation is built on shifting dates. Think about the ripple effect this has on the royal family as an institution. The monarchy isn't just a celebrity brand. It is a system built on tradition, accuracy, and hereditary lineage. If there is a 5-year gap in the records of a senior member, it calls into question the transparency of the entire organization. Some critics are even suggesting that if the births of the children were handled with questionable details, as Samantha Markle claims, this could even lead to questions about their place in the line of succession. This is high-stakes territory that goes far beyond celebrity gossip. It's about the trust between the crown and the public. If people begin to feel they've been presented with a constructed persona rather than a real individual, that foundation of trust starts to erode. And as audiences become more media literate in 2026, maintaining a flawless image is becoming increasingly difficult. People are no longer satisfied with a polished narrative. They want the raw, unedited truth. For years, the invisible children theory has circulated in the darker corners of the internet. The idea that we rarely see Archie and Lilibet in public, and when we do, the images are often grainy or unusually lit, fueling endless speculation. But when you look at it through the lens of the age controversy, some argue it begins to align from a PR perspective. If the age of the mother was managed, then the timeline of the children must be managed with equal precision. Every photo becomes a controlled asset, and every sighting is a calculated move. This level of precision makes everything feel almost too perfect, as if each moment were carefully arranged for maximum impact. And that's where the bigger question begins to take shape. If the timeline of something as significant as a birth or even a biological age feels simplified, people naturally start to wonder what else in the story may have been shaped for public perception. The story of the Markle family presents two very different realities. On one side, you have the official royal narrative, a story of a young woman who overcame obstacles to find love on a global stage. It's a story of empowerment, modernization, and breaking boundaries. On the other side, you have the version that Samantha Markle and Thomas Markle have described over time, not the polished, carefully structured narrative seen in headlines, but something that feels more like a rough sketch. In their telling, Meghan Markle wasn't just a teenager finding her way in the mid-90s. They suggest she was already an adult, moving with a level of awareness and calculation that doesn't align with a youthful persona. And that's where everything diverges. In one version, the timeline aligns neatly. In the other, the numbers shift just enough to make people pause. Not just a minor discrepancy, but a gap that could reshape how the entire story is understood. As we look toward the potential resolution of Samantha Markle's lawsuit moves toward a potential resolution in late 2026, the world remains divided. The official records are clear and widely accepted. That's what institutions and the media rely on every time. But the alternative perspective continues to resurface, driven by physical artifacts like the 17 magazine feature and personal accounts that refuse to fade. We have to ask ourselves, why does this matter? Does it really matter if a duchess is 44 or 49 in isolation? But in the context of a public figure who has built a brand on authenticity and speaking her truth, it becomes far more significant. It matters because it highlights the level of control that can be exerted over public perception. It matters because it shows how easily a personal history can be reshaped with the right narrative, presentation, and timing. The transition from Rachel Meghan Markle to Meghan Markle wasn't just a change of name, it was a transformation of identity. Change, it was a total reinvention. And while reinvention is often seen as part of the American dream, it can become a royal dilemma when the details begin to clash. When you line everything up, the family accounts, the magazine details, the school timelines, and the account described in Spare by Prince Harry, it begins to form a pattern that some find difficult to ignore. Again, none of this is confirmed, courtroom-ready evidence, but it's more than enough to keep the conversation alive. At this stage, it's no longer just about a single claim, it's about how narratives are built, shaped, and maintained over time, especially in a world where image carries immense weight. Once a story is presented in a certain way and repeated consistently, it often becomes the version most people accept without question. But as 2026 is demonstrating, even long-standing narratives can come under renewed scrutiny. So perhaps this was never just about a birth year. Maybe it's about the power of visibility to obscure as much as it reveals. Maybe it reflects how difficult it is to separate perception from reality when every moment is observed, analyzed, and carefully managed. These controversial details aren't just gossip, they represent the tension between perception and truth, a manufactured image and a real human life. And as that friction grows, the pressure is beginning to strain the edges of the royal tapestry. For Samantha Markle, the goal is simple. She wants the world to see the woman she remembers, not the character she believes was presented to the public. For Thomas Markle, it's about the memory of a daughter before the lighting changed. And for the rest of us, it offers a compelling look at the machinery of fame. But it goes even deeper than personal vanity or a strategic Hollywood rebrand. This touches on the very foundation of the British monarchy. You see, the royal family isn't just a group of celebrities, they are part of a constitutional institution where dates, timelines, and lineage carry formal significance. If Samantha Markle's pursuit of the original birth certificate were to reveal any discrepancy, it wouldn't just impact Meghan Markle's public image, it could raise broader institutional questions. If a birth were managed in a way critics consider questionable, and if the mother's age were adjusted to fit a specific narrative, it could lead some to question the integrity of official records tied to the line of succession. This is exactly why the 2026 legal discovery phase has the palace on edge. It's no longer about a 5-year gap on a resume, it's about whether the official records of the crown can be trusted, or whether they've been shaped like a Hollywood script. Online investigators in 2026 are also uncovering digital traces that PR teams may have overlooked. They're digging up cached versions of old talent agency pages and casting calls from the late 90s that were supposedly removed years ago. On some of these archived pages, the woman we know as Meghan Markle appears to have been listed with age ranges that don't align with the 1981 birth year. It's as if the Rachel Meghan Markle persona left a trail of breadcrumbs that the Meghan Markle identity couldn't fully erase. And in a world where everything is recorded and very little is ever truly deleted, those breadcrumbs are now being closely examined. Each time a new photo of Archie and Lilibet surfaces, people increasingly analyze details like metadata and lighting, looking for any indication that the timeline might be carefully managed. It has reached a point where even a simple birthday post is now viewed by some as a calculated move within a much larger game of perception. The mystery has grown so large that it has taken on a life of its own, turning every royal appearance into a puzzle for the public to analyze. Whether the truth lies in a 1997 magazine or within sealed records in a London hospital, one thing is certain: the public is no longer simply watching a fairy tale, they are searching for the edits behind it. Stay focused, because the next document to be unsealed could potentially reshape the narrative entirely. Now it's your turn to weigh in. We've examined the magazine, analyzed the hospital timeline, and considered the family's perspective. Do you believe there is a 5-year discrepancy being concealed, or is this a misunderstanding that has been amplified beyond proportion? Proportion by the digital age? Does the age of a duchess change how you see her story, or is it irrelevant in the grand scheme of things? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd like to hear your perspective on the 1997 smoking gun. If you found this deep dive interesting, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can join the conversation. We'll continue following this legal battle and the search for the original records, so stay tuned for the next update. This is a story that is far from over, and the truth may turn out to be even more surprising than the narrative. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.